Well, ladies and gentlemen, bang, episode 52. We've made it. Coach Ballgame here, Coach Chopper in the house. Thank you, Patreons, for keeping the lights on. It is a monsoon here in Southern California. Already canceled my sandlots for the night. It's been raining cats and badgers. Coach, how you doing over there in Arizona?
I'm doing well, and I'm aware of that weather pattern because we were supposed to come out this weekend and play a couple teams over at Ocean View, and the coach is like, "Hey, dude, like unless you're bringing an ark, don't plan on coming." And we had campsite set up in San Clemente, so it's like we canceled the trip, and I'm thankful to Coach that he gave me a heads up, which was nice. Otherwise, we would have drove out there. But sounds like it's biblical. Speaking of Noah's Ark, biblical proportions out there with the weather.
It's rainy and we've had to adjust some things. I've got a camp coming up on MLK Day. We'll see if we get it in outdoors. I've lined up an indoor facility, which I didn't think I'd ever have to do here in California, but hey, you got to do what you got to do. And this is a tease on an indoor camp that we did this past weekend. My topic for today involves a little something called Not Your Average Baseball Camp. I ran a baseball camp with a bunch of other social media influencers, big in the space of baseball. They've got a bigger following than me, all of them. Savannah Bananas, Party Animals, a lot of big namers, and they're all 15 years younger than me. So I was the grandpa. I was Mr. Miyagi there, but man, I got inspired, and I'll read a little blog. I'll read a little blog about what I got out of it, and how impressed I was with some things. I went into it expecting one thing, and I was a little surprised in a great way. So that's that. You've got something to share, and it's a little bit scary, Coach.
Yeah, I just want to kind of send out like a little public service announcement to all of our parents with kids. We've got 4 boys, as you know, and we thought we had everything pretty tight with school pickup. Well, their signals got crossed up on school pickup yesterday. And long story short, my wife expected our 5-year-old Titus to get dropped off at the house. And instead, she got a phone call from the police that said, shout out to the Oro Valley Police Department. They do an amazing job. But they called, said, "Hey, we have your son, Titus, on the side of the road." So I won't go into the details of how it happened, but it was a bunch of Lemony Snicket's series of unfortunate events.
Perfect storm of pickup details.
Yeah. So my wife thought another person was picking up the kids. The other person assumed my wife was picking up the kids. Moral of the story is, for all of our parents out there, just make sure you're double, triple check. We're setting up a text thread now with all of our pickup, and hopefully all of you already have this done, but like just an accountability of like, don't assume that so-and-so has your babies. It's our job. And I know we're all busy, and especially right now with the high school season starting to ramp up. But it was close, really close to being really, really, really bad in this household. And that would have, I don't know how we recover from that. So I just want to tell our parents, double, triple check that when your baby is in the care of someone else, or you think they are, just text them. "Hey, do you have Titus?" And then on the flip side, let's just create these checks and balances to keep all of our babies safe. That is my public service announcement.
Not a bigger scare for me than losing one of my own, or losing anybody I coach. Even it just shakes me to my core. I'm at a park a couple months back, and it's my 2 daughters and their cousin, my nephew, and we can't find the nephew anywhere. And this 5 minutes turns into 10 turns into 15, and man, it is shaky. And here he comes, just rolling up the street, just jogging like nothing happened. And when it works out, you're so thankful. But yeah, it kind of makes you drop everything and say, okay, well, where's the priorities here? Well, what do we need to drop out of our schedule? how do you respond, Chopper? How can you respond in a way when something like that happens yesterday?
Yeah, you got to self-evaluate, and that's what we've done. And I didn't let Titus go to school today. He's right in the other room watching TV. I was not willing to let him out of my household for the day. I held him for 15 minutes yesterday, just thanking Jesus that I had my baby in my hand, in my arms.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of gratitude. There's a lot of thankfulness that God protected it. And someone with bad intentions didn't drive by. It was someone with good intentions. It was a mom that was really concerned and said, "Hey, are you okay?" And Titus said, "No, I don't know where my mom or dad are." And they got a hold of the police, and the Orville Police Department is incredible. And they got our baby back. And so it's this self-evaluation of like, we think we had it tight, but we didn't. So the gratefulness is real. Our God is real. And that's where we're at, is like, we're really thankful, but we're still really scared. And so we're going to tighten it up. Boaz is not going to play basketball anymore. He's already playing 2 other sports outside of that. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to kind of tighten up our circle. And we're just going to set up that text thread and kind of double, triple check to make sure that we've got our babies safe. Yep. And that's what we're doing as a family.
How about just an add a girl to that mom and to those officers that helped? I mean, that's a huge deal for humanity to work out in our favor there, and have someone just see a kid and get to the bottom of it. So good. And it speaks to what we talk about on this podcast. Of course, how to become a better coach and a better parent, but just a better human being. Everybody we bring on, they're great human beings. That's why they're on here. And we all are in this together, as far as being afraid of those certain things, but then having a community and having people with that kind of humanity really is inspiring. So I feel for you, brother. And man, oh man, I'm
special
glad.
Special guest to the program.
There he is. I'm glad we see him here today. There he is. Give you an attaboy, buddy.
Hi, Coach Ballgame.
He said, "Hi, Coach
Hey,
Ballgame."
buddy, attaboy.
This is Tai. And he's home safe with mom and dad today. So love you, bud.
Attaboy. Good job.
He's in a pull up, and so he's got party down below and pajamas up top.
That's amazing. The last time he was the last time he was on the podcast, I believe you were doing a little daddy duty in the bathroom for the young man. And I carried the show for a few minutes as you went and dealt with a little daddy duty. So wow. Well, that'll shake you to the core, and I'm glad we're here today, being very thankful. I had a very special weekend where I was asked by some young baseball coaches to just help, just be a coach and help run this camp where it's people from Georgia and all over the country coming into Orange County to run a camp for kids ages 8 to 14. And these were elite players, and these are kids that already have TikTok, and so they're following all of these influencers. And I've done this before with Easton, and I met a lot of great artists, and it's pretty amazing when you meet these creators of content. And how talented they are, how they're able to marry art and baseball. It's the new wave. No bones about it. That's the new wave of youth sports. It's how kids are falling in love with the game. It's like their compass. They watch these influencers. So I wrote a little blog on it because I thought it was a pretty special group of coaches. Let's talk about this past weekend. I helped run a baseball camp with some young, hip, very handsome baseball influencers. It was most definitely not your average baseball camp. There were Savannah Bananas, party animals, and basically every coach that pops up on your feed in attendance. They've got a much bigger social media following than me, and they're all 15 years younger than I am. Yeah, I was the grandpa. Now, the word influencer, it gets passed around a lot. But let me tell you something. The next generation of baseball players is in great hands. Why? Because even though all 60 campers absolutely worship these guys because they follow them on TikTok, you know what impressed me? Not their elite content skills, not even their engaging personalities. These coaches cared about the well-being of each player they met, which is what we talk about every day on this podcast, of winning that heart and caring for each other. They cared about the well-being of each player they met. These coaches were passionate about teaching love of play. That was clear, and respect for thy teammate. There was no too cool for school in the staff. And if I'm being honest, I thought that might happen, right? There might be a lot of just congregating of coaches, hanging out, talking about content. No, everybody was spread out with their groups, engaging with the kids, getting to know these kids, building trust with the kids. After the camps, all the coaches would go back to the hotel. And I found this fascinating. And it brought me back to when I was in my early 20s, falling in love with coaching. They'd go back to the hotel and roundtable talk about how fun the act of impacting young people is. They did this all night long. They got no sleep. And some of them, I mean, they were crying, just moved to tears with emotions of, how we were impacting these kids in such a positive way. They won these kids' hearts, which you say every day, by prioritizing three things: getting to know them, building trust, and building character. With that as the foundation, their natural abilities and personalities made it incredibly fun. These kids will never forget this one. Well done, Coach Crank, Georgia Bomb, Coach Sam, White Rose, Dalton, Disarm, Wisconsin, Ange, One Day Stash, Party Animal, and Coach Rack. Oh snap, that was very lit. P.S. I'm still friends with Tom from MySpace, and my AOL Instant Messenger handle is still LowDaddy8. I was the only coach that knew what MySpace was or AOL Instant Messenger, and that was my weekend. So big snaps for those coaches. The next generation is in good hands. And when me and you were maybe a little too old and slow to throw a baseball camp, I think I realized something. Like, we're not just impacting kids, we're actually impacting this next generation of coaches. So a super proud moment for this gray beard, brother.
That's so cool. And it takes me back to a comment that I got last night from an athlete that I coached 10 years ago when he was in high school. And now he's coming back out to help us out. And this is his first practice last night. And just my interactions with my kids, he said, "Coach, I really needed this version of you back then." And it was like, I didn't take that as a bad thing. I took that as like, we're doing it, and, it was looking for moments to give grace when there's still accountability. And it was really tricky in my mind, because I'm like, okay, I know we need the accountability, but I also know this young man needs grace right now. So I actually found like a happy medium. And he was like, "Coach, that was a tough spot, but you handled it well. And like, I needed this version of you back then." And it's like, I love it. It fires me up. So it looks like we got a guest in the house. Go and introduce him, Coach Ballgame.
We do, man. I want to introduce our guest today, folks. And I've been hearing his voice. I've been hearing the smooth pipes as I roll down the road in my 2012 Hyundai Elantra with Sirius XM. I just like listening to baseball on the radio. Been doing it forever. And this he's the lead play-by-play announcer for the crew, the Brew Crew, the Brewers. He's done radio since 2015. Now he's the head TV guy for the Brew Crew. His name's Jeff Levering. Round of applause for Jeff. And how about an attaboy listener? 1, 2, 3. Attaboy. Thanks for coming on. We've never met in person, but we've connected thanks to myspace.com or Instagram, whatever you call it. And thanks for joining us, brother.
It's my pleasure, guys. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. And just I love your work. I love everything you do. I love the podcast. I love the fact you get out in the community and you're teaching baseball to youngsters the way it's supposed to be taught. So thank you.
Honored, man. Honored. I was just reading a blog I just wrote this past weekend. I coached a camp for kids age 8 to 14, and this new wave of baseball coaches. The players see them on the phone. They see them on TikTok. They see them on Instagram, and they're all like 24, 25 years old. So for me to be the Mr. Miyagi of the crew this weekend and tell stories about Roberto Clemente and just see their eyes kind of like look at me when they didn't really know how to wrangle 60 kids. I felt in my element. I really did, and kind of felt like a proud papa. So it's an honor to have you on. You played baseball at Chapman University. Is this correct?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely did. National champions, 2003, Division
Let's
III
go.
national champs right in your backyard.
Let's go. So I'm kind of wondering if Chopper, did you guys ever?
We played Chapman. Yeah, I was at Vanguard back in that time. Yeah, 2001, 2002. So we played Chapman at your place.
Oh, we absolutely did.
So
I
we played
remember
against each other.
a Scott Zine catch that ended
Zine.
a ball game that I hit. That was fun. That was a good game.
Scotty Zine was there, I think, the year after me.
Okay.
And then I grew up just right there on 17th and Grand. That's my household. That's right down the street from Chapman. Small
Look
world.
at you. Gosh, we could tell so many legends of Vanguard and Chapman. One of my first collegiate games was against Vanguard. So you were there.
Where did you go to high school? Are you from the area, or where'd you go to high school?
No, originally from Northern California. Okay. I went to Jesuit High School up in Sacramento. So we had a great group of guys up there, and then I knew my life was not going to go in the direction of baseball in the field, and Division III baseball was going to be my route. And Chapman was a great opportunity to go there. So I was there for the last year of the Rex Peters era.
Yeah. And a great school too. My little cousin went there for like piano, and like he like composes scores for movies.
Come on.
Cool. I swear. Yeah, it's awesome. So that's a great
legit
school. Yeah, that's a good spot. Right next to Hart Park for those that know the area.
For sure. Yeah, no, we were part of the group that went through the major renovation of Hart Park when Mark Langston was the head coach at Orange Lutheran, because we shared the facilities there, and Rex Peters knew the groundskeeper at Angel Stadium, and he came over and they gave us the sod and the turf, and they continue on. It's one of the great facilities that nobody knows about in Southern California.
It really is. Yeah, we're doing that at the high school. Yeah, to Langston.
Mullet salute from Mark Langston, man.
So good.
We're doing that at our high school right now. We're like transforming it. And we won Field of the Year last year. It was my first year. Okay. And now this year it's like, cool, that was good. But now that I've got this vision of like a Taj Mahal clubhouse, and like we cleared out this real deserty, I'm in Arizona, this real deserty hill, and we're going to turn it into like a spring training hill with like our logo, the lion head, like in the grass. It's going to be super cool. But you just got to dream as coaches and as leaders, and it's all coming to fruition.
Did you find yourself learning more about turf during this whole process? You're like, I know what mix I want. I know exactly what kind of lava rock is going to drain perfectly if the monsoon hits.
He talks so, I mean,
yeah,
you Bill Murray and Caddyshack.
Yeah,
it's a hybrid sense-o-mia.
When to overseed.
Got to overseed it.
On one of our hills, we were overseeding the wrong way because we put the seed down, but then we would just water it like every other zone. You can't do that because the seed rolls down the hill. You got to go 2 minutes and stop.
That's right.
We're going next level with the water.
This is next level. This is like this is yard talk for us Midwest boys. Like in the summertime when you start getting your lawn looking tight. Yeah, this is it. This is perfect.
Hey, I'm gonna send you a picture when it's dialed in. I live on a golf course, so they donated one of their lawnmowers. So we've got the lines. We're going fairway length, 3/4 of an inch. I've got the handheld for the 1/2 inch in the infield. We're not messing around out here in Oro Valley. Let's go.
No, you're not. No. Hey, it's all for the kids. It's all for the kids. They got to play on the best stuff. They're going to be next level players. They got to play on good stuff.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything, and greatness exudes through everything we do. So I want them to step on a field and like, hey, we're about to have a party here. We don't mess around. We take care of every detail, dude. I'm telling you.
You want to get respect from your players, have them put in the irrigation system for it. Then they will respect you, and they will respect the field they play on. Yeah, believe me, I've done it twice.
You've done it. Let's go.
Man, this is officially in episode 52, our first lawn talk.
Oh, come on.
I know,
hey,
right?
I hope it becomes a thing. I hope it becomes a thing.
It'll be so my dad was a man of the earth, and he loved the ground. And we had red clay growing up in North Carolina. And for exercise, he'd go in the backyard with a mattock and a shovel and a wheelbarrow, and he'd just dig. And there really wasn't any purpose to it. He just loved the act of digging holes in the backyard to the point where we couldn't see him. He was so deep. And it got a little dark when the neighbors would come over and they're like, what's he digging them holes for? Like, what's he going to do down there? But it wasn't to bury any of us alive, but he did bury a lot of stuff back there. There's old refrigerators back there. There's an old motorcycle of his, old car parts. And I filmed him one time and just asked him, what's in the backyard, Dad? And he went down a list of beautiful 1984 Honda motorcycle parts. And
So good.
yeah, possibly a few dead cats, but they just got a hold of some antifreeze and that happens. But
That happens.
I feel like he was just putting the threat in your mind of, hey, listen,
Sure.
I can dig this hole. So
Yeah.
just so you know,
it's
this
there.
is available to you.
Choose your own adventure. Yeah, you
Right.
choose your own way.
Right. Here's the
There's
fork in the road,
consequences.
kid. I know where the hole is. And believe me, I don't have to tell anybody where it is either.
Bobby Bonilla, make you move, punk. Make you move.
I love it.
Man,
This got dark really fast. I'm sorry,
this
guys.
got dark
It
fast.
happens.
We from lawn chat to
Bobby
to just
Bonilla and the media.
dark,
Ugh.
just like that. I want to go back to the beginning. You got the pipes, and boy, do you call a game. And I can't wait to chat some Bob Euchre, and I do have an epic Brewers trivia contest between you and Chopper that we'll close up shop with.
Christian
get ready
Yelich.
for that.
That's my guess.
Get ready for some mustaches and some mullets and some Storm Gorman Thomas references. But I want to go back to the beginning, and in Sacramento there, where'd you fall in love with the game of baseball and sports in general? Where'd that begin?
I think it goes back to my dad. My dad played baseball. He's actually more of a football player. Growing up, was a 3-sport athlete in high school, but he instilled this love of the sport. And my uncle, who's my mom's brother, also is a huge baseball fan. Probably knows more about the sport than anybody I can even talk to. If he doesn't believe that it's fact, he'll tell you it's fact. So he took me to my first Giants game in San Francisco at Candlestick Park, and just that's where I grew up going to games, the Stick. And it was a miserable place to watch baseball games because it was cold in the middle of August. But I fell in love with Will Clark and Robbie Thompson and Kirk Manwaring and guys like that, playing on some pretty great teams, and Matt Williams. Those were my guys growing up that I fell in love with. And of course, Willie Mays, you see, Bobby Thompson hitting the home run and Willie Mays over my right shoulder here. I was always a Giants fan growing up, but I just having the opportunity to have my dad throw BP to me when I'm growing up and trying to get better as a baseball player, and hit line drives off of his shins, and him throwing balls off my back and stuff because he had terrible command, and just the look on his face when I hit a ball over the fence for the first time. Those are the moments that I always go back to. And I've got an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter, and it's those moments where you see it in their eyes when they really square one up when you're throwing to them and they go, oh yeah, this is great. That's what I felt like when I was growing up. And I think that's where my love of the sport really came from, was from my dad and from my uncle. And it wasn't anybody putting any pressure on me to play. It was because I loved playing, and I loved being out there, and I loved getting better. And I loved that feeling of succeeding as a team with the group. And I had a lot of successes as a player. So I think that's where it all started. It came from my dad.
Yep, that connection. I've been lucky enough to go to the Field of Dreams twice now and run some sand lots. And there's this feeling you get, this dad feeling. And when I went to watch the White Sox and Yankees play a couple years back, 3 hours for the game, 4 hours for the game, fathers and sons, grandfathers and grandsons, grandmas and grandsons, they're playing this game of catch. But my first visual recollection of Major League Baseball was the '89 earthquake series, and
Sure.
I'm there with Dad in the living room in North Carolina, ready to watch the game. And I'm like, Dad, what's going on here? Were you about my age there, 7, 8 years old?
Yeah,
8, 9?
I was 5 because I was in
Yeah.
kindergarten. I had homework and I felt the earthquake in Sacramento. I felt
Wow.
it. My uncle was at that game. So, I mean, that is a vivid memory of mine as well. That's one of the first World Series that I can remember. I remember 88 a little bit, but 89, because the Giants were in it, that was my first World Series memory.
Will the thrill, my dad would just say, just watch him, just watch his swing and emulate that swing. That's the one.
There it
Oh,
is.
The
I
starting
love
lineup,
thrill. I love thrill.
the
so
Hey,
best.
did you go when you were at Chapman? Did you get out there to the 2002 World Series, Giants Angels? Did you get it?
Great question.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Had tickets to game 6, but it was the homecoming game for our football team. And I was the public address announcer. And they didn't have a fill-in for me. So I sold my game 6 tickets. So I made all the money back, which was a positive. Negative, I had to give all the score updates over the PA during the middle of the World Series game because it's on the same street as Angel Stadium, Chapman is.
Yeah.
So I had to give score updates. It was all right, Giants 6, Angels 1, and then it was Angels 7, Giants 6, Scott Spezio. Come on.
yeah.
Say, hey, so I was trying to be an entrepreneur back then. So I had tickets to game 6 as well. But
Okay.
I was outside of the stadium right by the catch trying to sell them like a real jerk. And I missed as a huge Angel fan. I mean, I grew up right there, huge Angel fan.
Yeah.
And we're like-minded in that we both sold our game 6 tickets, which is devastating.
Yeah.
But it's really cool at getting to work with the Giants for 5 years. Like, I never realized growing up what a class act organization, like first class, and the fan base.
Mhm.
You want to talk about a fan base. This is a fan base that has that same like vigor, like an East Coast team, but they have this unconditional love too. Like, they expect you to win. Don't get me wrong, but they're never going to yell, you stink. They're going to be like, hey man, I still believe in you. You can do it. It's a pretty special deal. And one thing I'm going to say about Will Clark before I let you go, I knew I made it when it was like my second year with it's after we won the World Series, 2015. And Will Clark sitting in the office with me with Sean Dunston, and we're talking about Brandon Belt. And he's like, man, Belt's got to drive in more runs, man. And I go, hey, you drove in a big run in the 18th inning against the Nationals last year. And he looks at me with this Will Clark intensity. He's like, shut the F up, Chop. And like 10 minutes later, he apologized. And I said, Thrill, that was my favorite moment, including the World Series. Like, now I know I've made it. Thrill told me to shut the F up. Like, hey, I made it. Because like, there's some level of respect when they feel like they can talk to you like that.
Yeah.
And we had a great respect. Thrill's great. I talked to him a couple years ago when I was with the Dodgers. He came over, and he's a great man, but he's intense, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Best.
For sure. I met him one time. We were in St. Louis and he was coming back to do something. He was a Cardinal for like 10 minutes, but they still revere him because he had some big moments. And he was in the visitors clubhouse talking to Craig Counsell, and Rip, the clubhouse guy, comes around the corner. I'm about ready to interview Counsell. He goes, hey, you want to meet Will Clark? And went, come on, man. Really? That's my guy.
Yep.
And he was just standing there, and he gives me this vice grip handshake. Oh God, man, he could go still hit 17 doubles right now in the big leagues without even blinking an eye.
Hey, and Rip does a great job in that visiting clubhouse too. Rip's a good man. He sleeps there a lot of nights. He's amazing. Like, those are the lost heroes. And Ballgame and I've talked about getting on some of these clubhouse guys that I know that are like, no one knows what they do and the hours they put in. Great clubhouse there in St. Louis. So shout out to Rip doing his thing. That's right. There.
Yeah, clubhouse guys and the equipment guys, for sure.
No, for sure. Well, you've had your share of clubhouse guys in your different walks of life. I mean, going backwards, you called minor league ball for the Red Sox, for the Cardinals, the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes.
Let's go.
But I want to go back to when the playing days started to, when the light started to shine on your playing days being over, and then how do you get into broadcasting, and what are some of those crummy jobs early on that got the ball rolling?
Yeah, I mean, my path is not like a lot of other paths. You know, I didn't go to Syracuse where I have the built-in network. And no offense to the people at Syracuse, it's a great network, and I'm glad they have turned out as many great broadcasters as they have. But I had to create my own path. Nobody had ever done what I did coming from Chapman University. Nobody was a play-by-play guy. Nobody really knew what to do. And I remember taking one class, the first class I ever took. And the first game I ever broadcast was a softball game, a women's softball game, because I couldn't do baseball because I was playing. So I never had an opportunity to do baseball. So I did a women's softball game. I did a basketball game against Redlands, and they ran like the Paul Westhead, don't play any defense. It was like 165 to 160 final score. That was the one basketball game I did. And I did one football game. That was the entire extent of my play-by-play career as I left college. So I'd done 3 games total, and none of it was baseball. But I remember doing that softball game. And when I was finished, and I knew the people on the team, because the softball team and the baseball team, we did a lot of stuff together. And I remember leaving the ballpark going, I had this rush, and I went, this is what I want to do. Because I felt good when I had the headset on. I go back and I listen to that beta tape, and it's horrendous.
Sure.
Whenever my analyst would say something to me, I would respond with, most definitely. Every time he talked to me, I'd say, most nervous, definitely, Scott. Yeah. And went, oh my God. I go back and it's just so cringeworthy. It's terrible. But again, even though I was terrible, I knew that that's the path I wanted to go on. And I remember going into the production truck, and our professor said, I think that you can do this. And from that moment on, I kind of that was the itch. So that was my junior year of college, spring semester, my junior year of college. I ended up getting an internship at Fox West and Prime Ticket, which is now Bally Sports, the spring semester of my senior year. So all within the spring semester of my senior year, I'm playing baseball. I'm trying to graduate and graduating at the same time, and interning up in Los Angeles. So I'm driving up there 3-4 times a week to sit there and log tapes. So I'm watching, say, a Laker game, and every time Kobe scores a bucket, you write down the time code that had happened on the VCR machine that's running. So I'm logging tapes, and then I'm taking those tapes over to the editors, and then they're doing the sports show. So I'm kind of assisting in the sports show. That's kind of how it started. And then it morphed into me being a runner and a production assistant for a handful of Angel games that summer. My internship ended. My baseball career ended with a week fly out to left in the College World Series in Appleton, Wisconsin. And I was done with college. And within the span of a 10-day period, my career's like, well, I don't know where I'm going. I sent tapes out to who knows where, market 786, to see if I could be a sports reporter, and never got any bites. So I just kept showing up at Fox, and my key kept working, and they didn't tell me to stop. So that turned into a full-time job, working on a couple of different shows. And then I became the lead PA for the Angels and the lead PA for the Lakers. Worked for the UCLA Rewind show, which used to take the old football games from the week before, and they'd run them back on Tuesdays with the radio calls. I was the associate producer for that. So it turned into all these different opportunities for me. And I knew that play-by-play was still going to be a part of what I wanted to do. So as I was working for the Angels, and Steve Physiok, who's huge in my career and just retired, congratulations to Steve on a remarkable career, finished up with the Royals. He was so great with me. Originally came and talked to my class at Chapman, and I was the only play-by-play guy. So we talked after class. And then as I became the PA there, he would tell me, hey, listen, grab a tape recorder and sit in the booth next door and just call a couple innings while you're sitting there. After you're done with all your duties, just call a couple innings. So I'd sit back in the back of the booth in where the high home camera would be. And the high home camera operator's name is Rusty. Still does it to this day at Angel Stadium and in San Diego, the Padres. So I would sit back there with a lineup card, and I would just call the game. And I would give him the tape at the end of the night. He'd listen to it, come back the next day, game 2 of a series, and go, okay, this was good. This was not so good. Try and do this. And that's how I got better. And then that summer was 2006. A buddy of mine was working at Rancho Cucamonga as the PA guy. They had an opportunity to fill in on some Saturday broadcasts that they were doing TV on. So that was the first time I'd ever done radio. I'd never done radio before. And they called me up 12 hours before first pitch and said, can you be here? I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I don't know who's playing. I don't know what a radio broadcast consists of. I did my first pregame interview with Sean Rodriguez. Remember, utility player? He's the first interview I ever did. And I forgot to push record on the recording device. So I had to go do it twice. First game ever. It's great.
That's so good.
Hey, can we
Yeah.
do that a second time, please?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Really endeared myself with the program.
Well,
But that's where it all started.
That's
Sean,
so,
hey, Sean, like
so
his
good.
brother, I played with Robbie, his brother, Robbie Rodriguez, who was a catcher.
Yeah.
And great family. So if it had to be somebody like Sean Rodriguez, isn't the worst guy for that to happen with.
For sure. Yeah. I couldn't imagine trying to do that with like Barry Bonds. Yeah, that wouldn't work out well.
Nope.
No.
Or Will
no.
Clark. I'm not sure he would be okay with that either.
No, Will was a one-timer, I think, on the interviews. You either get him or
One
no.
take.
A lot. I mean, man, I have a few things that I want to unpack there. First, I'm reading Joe Madden's book, and he got his first managing job at the age of 52. So his quote is, "The struggle is beautiful, man."
Yeah.
And talking about that struggle, the parallels to coaching and kind of finding my voice as a coach. It was mentors along the way. It was me failing. It was me trying to win at all costs and teach this kid to move their feet in the right place. And when my mentors were like, "No, dude, how's their mental health? Who are they? Unlock the key to who they really are as a person, build that trust, and then you got them." So you grinding through all of those different jobs, and then you having those mentors along the way that were like, "Hey, call a few games, let me hear what you got." When Joe Buck was on the pod, his dad would do that. He'd say, "Just go over there, call a few innings, and then we'll talk about it afterwards." Joe Davis last week, confidence through preparation, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't throwing up all over himself in the World Series because of all that preparation. He's like, "Let's go." So I want to get into the booth now with the Milwaukee Brewers. How did you not throw up all over your microphone when Bob Uecker, the guy, tosses it to you in the booth?
Hey, before Jeff, you answer this, tell me that your first game with him, you went full major league and just dropped in and went fly ball, left field,
Fly ball, caught. I certainly considered it.
Yeah,
I really did.
Because you're good at life.
Yeah, I made a good life decision not doing that, I think, because he'd have punched me in the face. But I mean, it's such a surreal thing, the fact that I've been able to work with him for 8 years, right? And call games. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt today with his face on it, which is nuts. So, I mean, the first time I ever met him, he disarmed me so fast, and he has that ability to do that with anybody. The first time I ever met him was the day before Christmas Eve, before I got the job in 2014. And we're going to dinner down at Charlie's, right? He's got his own personal booth. He's got a picture of himself like right next to him over his shoulder. So you're sitting there staring at him. And, and it's my last interview is having dinner with him and his wife. And you pass that test. And first of all, you're basically crapping your pants because you're going, well, if I don't get this job, fine, but at least I got to have dinner with Uke. So that's kind of cool in itself. And then within 5 minutes of having this dinner, I showed up late, quote unquote. I was there on time, but he got the time wrong. But who's going to tell me you got the time wrong? And so I showed up a couple of minutes early, but it was late for him. And within 5 minutes of our conversation, just chit-chatting, Bud Selig walks around the corner and he introduces me to him and he goes, "Hey, Al." And who calls Bud Selig, the former commissioner of baseball, Al, except for Uke? He goes, "Hey, Al, this is Jeff. He's going to be working with us next year." And I went, I don't have this job yet, but okay, that's cool. I guess he said that. So we should put this in motion, maybe. But then we sat there for 3 hours and we just had this completely organic conversation. And then, my first year with the Brewers, I didn't even work with them. I was the fill-in guy. So I did 65 games or something. So I got to dip my pinky toe in the shallow end, which was a blessing in disguise, getting into big leagues for the first time, just to experience everything. And then in his off innings, he would come up and we would just chat in the back of the booth. So here you have this master's class of talking with Bob Uecker in the middle of baseball games, just talking about life and about everything under the sun. And then the following year, I become the full-time number 2 guy and then lead when he doesn't work. And I wasn't worried about sitting next to him. I knew my job was to get the best out of him. Nobody cares about me. Nobody knew my name in Milwaukee for the first 5 years that I was here until the team went to the playoffs. And I was totally fine with that. My job is to make him better, make him a better broadcaster, make him tell better stories. And it's not about me. So as soon as I realized that, and I knew that was my mentality, the next thing was learning how he scores a game, because we share a scorebook, which is insane. Nobody does that ever. So I had to retrain my brain how to score a baseball game.
Yeah.
It's everybody's own language. That was probably the most nerve-wracking of all of it, was learning how to score a game so he could read. I had to change my handwriting, make sure I got the right pens to fill out the scorebook so his 80-plus-year-old eyes could read. He's going to be 89 later this month. But it is amazing sitting next to him and what you would imagine he is, from the movies, from Johnny Carson, from listening to him call a baseball game. And he is an amazing play-by-play guy. He's not just an entertainer. He is an amazing play-by-play personality. He nails every freaking call, every call. And being up close and personal and watching him do that, watching him call a division clinching game or a game 163, and being able to just turn my head a little bit and look at him call that moment and soak that in. Those are the moments I'll never forget, ever. So when it comes to working with him, somehow I don't throw up all over myself when he says, okay, for the third, here's Jeff. How is this real life? It's still, even this is year number 9 for me, and he's going to toss it to me in a spring training game, which means nothing. And it will still put the hairs on my arms up a little bit, hearing him say that. It's amazing.
We listen to you guys in the visiting clubhouse too. And you're right. It's Uke. We want to hear Uke.
Yeah.
But like, think about that. I was with the Giants for 5 years, and we've got Kruk and Kite, which are, growing up as a Giants fan, like they're the best to do it too. Like they're Hall of Fame broadcasters. And John Miller, and we're going to y'all's broadcast because we want to hear you do something awesome and be sweet and have that reflection in his voice at the right moment, and like all these things that he does so well, so seamlessly. So he's so well respected throughout the game. And even with the Dodgers too, like Joe Davis does an amazing job, but we're looking to hear y'all's broadcast because I'm doing replay. So, we're watching the broadcast. And it's, you do an amazing job. But like, to your point, like your goal is just to, hey, how can I tee this up for Uke? And that's why you're great at what you do too, because you're just staying out of the way.
Yeah. It's, I may know the answer to something, but I can see his wheels turning, and it's not my job to give him the answer. My job is to be like, okay, how can I phrase this to where I know the player that he's talking about from whatever era it is, how can I get him there so that he gets to get the punchline? Perfect. That's what my job is. And that's what anybody's job who's ever worked with him is.
I feel like, talk about masterclass. Yeah, as we'll see how many more innings we get to hear him call. But when his days are over and you're moved on to this phase 2 of your broadcasting career, is there a thing? Is there a piece of advice? What are you going to hold in your back pocket from Bob every game you call?
Yeah, most of it just comes down to the most important thing in any game that you call, whether you're calling a baseball game, a football game, or a basketball game. In my perspective, the game is what matters. That's what matters. One of the first things he told me, because we've all got our laptops up and we're looking at iPads and trying to find information and we're trying to dig up all this stuff. He goes, don't forget what's out there. Kind of push this stuff to the side. The game will tell you everything you need to know. This stuff is fine. That's great. But the game's out here. Pay attention to the game. And I never forget that. And I think, and I'm lucky, I'll be 40 later on this summer, but I think the people of my generation and the kids that are coming through that will be big league broadcasters in the future, I think that they get a little bit too much in their phones, a little bit too much in their iPads, and a little bit too much into the weeds of the sabermetrics and stuff. Like he understands it, but to your point, get to know the player, get to know the person, get to know what these guys are going through so you can tell stories on the air about what these guys are as human beings. That's what listeners want to hear about. They don't care about what Johnny Havistick's ex-Woba is in the 7th inning or later, right? We're not little big league stats. You know, I love John Gordon. I love little big league, but that's not what we're doing.
Even as a listener in my car on the radio, some of my favorite moments are when he's reading an ad for, is it Usinger's?
Usinger's famous sausage.
I mean, that's sometimes the most inflection you'll hear is when he's talking about sausage, and it's
That's
local. Right. And it is, I just turn it up a little bit. I love it.
Hey, Jeff, you ever tried any of that spicy andouille sausage? Gosh, it's good. Maybe some of that crisp kraut. Oh yeah.
Yeah. He asks you, he trails off and like you have a discussion about sausage.
Oh yeah.
That's and the 2-2.
It's gold.
You know, back to it. So
yeah, here's the 2-2 pitch. It's outside, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Wait, no. Try some of those Mr. Baseball brats. Portion of the proceeds go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Patty Gorski and the gang over there do such a great job. It's the best.
It's incredible. We used to like kind of joke as we were growing up, like Peter Gammon stats on ESPN and be like,
oh, sure.
And the Red Sox playing on a Wednesday night, they're 3-0 on a Wednesday night when they're playing with their socks up. And it's just like, you mock it. It's like the fans don't care about that. You know, they care about, Harry Carey, the legend, right? With just we're saying weird stuff.
Yeah.
Piazza spelled backwards is Azup. B-O-1, and it's like, that's what we want. We want it to get a little bit weird and fun and hear stories about the guys. And that's another time when I knew I made it, dude, is I was in Red Sox, their dugout on the visiting side. Giants are in town. And Peter Gammons comes over and sits down. He goes, what do you got on this Bientenny kid? I think he's going to be really good. Andrew Yeah. And we're like, I'm like, I'm talking to Peter flipping Gammons, little guy. He's not a big guy.
No, he's tiny.
Tiny and frail and old. And
he looks like a turtle. He's like,
yes.
Yeah, he's a great man, though.
Amazing man. He's the guy we grew up, like, that was it. It was Peter Gammons. This is Peter Gammons, ESPN. And that was who you grew up listening to. Question I have for you, when you were still playing, Javi Lopez, a friend of the pod, he came on earlier, the relief pitcher, 4-time World Series champ. We would do this in spring training where we would cut our teeth, call the game from the dugout. So we'd be in Arizona and it'd be sunny Arizona, not a cloud in the state. Buster Posey at the plate. He's got every trophy in the trophy case. Rookie of the year, comeback play. Did you ever like, all right, dude, I got an inning here. I'm not coming up this inning. I'm going to go ahead and call the game from the dugout.
Yeah, I had plenty of time to do that because after my freshman year of college, I DH'd my sophomore year.
Perfect.
And then my third year, I didn't play much. I was like, go get the foul balls that go off the chain link fence because, Division III, you got to keep all your foul balls. And then my senior year, they didn't trust me to start games, not even on senior day, but they'd throw me in there in the 9th inning to try and drive in the tying run as a pinch hitter. It's like, okay, whatever. I know my role. So I had a lot of time to kind of do my stuff in the dugout and I just had fun with it. I mean, I've been doing this since I was a kid. And I think, Dustin Pedroia, we were teammates back in the day when we were in high school doing some summer ball stuff. And we played catch every day. He vividly remembers me doing that in the dugouts in the AAU national championship in Nashville. He goes, man, I remember you in the dugout doing this. You were about ready to come up and you just kept everybody light by calling a game. Okay. I didn't even realize I was doing it. The only time I didn't do it was when I was catching. That'd be bad form. That would be bad form. But I mean, you could catch yourself just sitting in the dugout and just striking up a conversation. And that's most of my style. It's like Kruk and Kipe and Uke for that matter. You want to feel like you're at the end of the bar and having a conversation. That's what a broadcast should feel like. And I'm so lucky in Milwaukee to have Bill Schroeder on the TV side, Uke on the radio, Tim Dillard and Vinny Rotino doing TV with us too. We have great partners and it feels like you're just sharing a Kringle, which is the old Danish that's filled. Oh yeah. I'm sure with Kipe being a racing name.
He brings them in.
Yeah.
Did you growing up, do you think they had that impact? And I apologize to interrupt. Do you like listening to Kruk and Kipe? Was that like, do you think that had like this, like, hey man, this is amazing. And I think I can do this.
This is to me, this is the way that it should sound.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. That this is how I want to ingest a baseball game. I don't want people squawking things at me. I don't need that. What I want to ingest and what I want to give to people is a place where they can be comfortable. They want to come and relax, and they want to get away from life. That's what we're trying to provide. We're trying to provide that escape. And I think that Kruk and Kipe do it as well as anybody. And Uke, of course, when the game's on the line, he brings it back in, and he knows when to bring out the funny and when not to bring out the funny. If it's 10-0 in the third inning, yeah, we're going to have a great broadcast, because who knows what we're going to talk about instead of anything but the baseball game. But again, you're there to entertain people, and you want them to escape. You don't want to talk about serious stuff.
Okay, Kruk and Kipe in a blowout, I would argue that's as good as it gets, because it is really weird really quick. They start talking about how people are eating their food and what they're thinking, and they get going with like a father and a son and like you don't want blowouts unless you're winning them. But even if you're losing them, me and Sean would look at each other and we'd be like, hey, it's about to get weird and it's going to be funny.
Yeah, Rock and I did a whole thing in Cincinnati last year with a guy who was fishing underneath the bridge in the Ohio River, and we did a whole inning. He's bringing in this huge bass. Oh my God, what kind of fish is that? How do you think he's going to cook it? Is he going to throw it back? Is he not going to throw it back? People care. People care about that stuff.
Little miso bass.
Yeah.
Harry Carey narrated my youth talking about sombreros, and that's what I like to hear. So I'm teasing this. We're going to let you go. We all got kids, but we've got a trivia contest, you versus Chopper, where I'll ask a question, and as soon as you think you know the answer, say it out loud. Chopper is 2 and 24 on the season.
What kind of tea? Hey, I saw the bag. What kind of tea you rocking right now? I'm going Earl Grey right now, Jeff.
Oh, I have some throat coat going with a little honey in it.
Sure. We talked about it before we went on the air. Yeah.
That's a parallel. Coaches got to have that throat coat.
You have to.
Pre-broadcast, is that the play as well? Is that your pre-broadcast mix right there? Or what do you go English breakfast? Where are we at on the tea game?
No English breakfast. It kind of varies between there's an orange kind of bliss that I like to drink, but if I feel the voice is starting to go a little bit, it's throat coat with the honey. And if it's really in bad shape, I crush up some aspirin and put it in there for the anti-inflammatory.
Let's go. Hey, that's insider information, ball game. Like that is inside information. I'd love to see it.
I jotted that one down. Before we get to our trivia contest, I told Joe Davis this, and I asked him the same question. You also call, is it Big Ten basketball, college basketball?
Big Ten and Big East Conference. So Big Ten Network and Fox.
And you got the basketball, a little more like hockey, boom, boom, boom. And then baseball, more conversational. Other than being the career hit by pitch record holder at Brown University, my second coolest thing that's ever happened to me is I won the Jim Nantz sound-alike contest on the Dan Patrick Show. And what I did is I made a video of his warm-up from March Madness. He just came off the national championship into the Masters. There's got to be a cool down. There's got to be Gary McCord drives the Maroon, Studebaker, Dottie Pepper, Juniper, get into that groove. That's amazing. I won. I'm like, thank you, 30 seconds. Clint Eastwood climbs the dogwood. And it won. So he called me, we talked for 15 minutes, best 15 minutes of my life. And then he sent me a bottle of wine. Do you have to get your mind into a different place calling a basketball game versus baseball, or is it just show up and see it and go?
I think it is more show up and see it and go. For me, it's more having the conversation with the producer and the director before the game starts, because I do television for basketball and football, and a lot more TV now for baseball too. It's more of having the roadmap of where you want to go in case things get a little haywire. And having, okay, this is built, we have this in our back pocket if we need it, but the game is the most important thing. So let's follow the game, let's follow the trends, let's follow the story. And then if this thing gets to be a 25-point blowout, we've got Providence against Rhode Island back in the day, the Stevie Mac special, to where you just, okay, I have that in my back pocket if I need it. But most of it is, I don't have the anchor man, ow now brown cow. I don't do any of that stuff.
That's too bad.
I should, but I don't. But it's mostly okay, this is where we're going. How am I going to make my analyst sound as best they can? What does my sideline reporter have that I could toss to her at any given moment for her preparation? How can I make my teammates better? That's what it's all about for me.
Boog Shambi, who was also on the pod, he let me into the, I mean, maybe my third coolest thing ever, let me into the booth there at Wrigley, which was the home of the narration of my youth. And you got all these TV screens, and then you've got the ad he's got to read right there. There's 9 different things and 9 different people. Like, that's for a whole nother podcast where you can just kind of give us a day in the life, but that's got to be nuts.
It is. It's really hard. That's where kind of when I step over to the radio side, I feel like I'm on a vacation these days because it's just me and you talking, and my producer will chime in every now and again with some random thing. And he's great. He's the best. He's Kent Sommerfeld. He's a legend here in Milwaukee, our producer and engineer. But on TV, you don't have as much room to tell as many stories with the length that you want to tell them. Right. You have a limited amount of time to talk about these stories that you want to talk about. You got a producer in your ear. You got to make sure you're paying attention to your analyst. You have all these ads. Okay. Pull a ripcord on this story because we got to get in Brewers baseball brought to you by Hyundai or whatever it is. Let's step aside 30 seconds for Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. We got to get those things in there.
Good. I can't tell you how many times I've heard you say that on the radio.
It's so TV. True.
Yeah,
it's so true. That double brought to you by West Bend and Silver Lining. Yes. It's just you have to know when you can get in and when you can get out. And again, there's a lot of people talking in your headset, and sometimes you don't even know what the heck you're saying. You'll go to break and go, what did I say? I have no idea what I just said right now. Hopefully it was coherent because I had this guy counting back from 7 in my ear. He was trying to hit my leg because something was funny in the booth, and now I'm trying to talk. Like, there's a lot going on. It's a lot of controlled chaos.
That's where the what the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes and, the AA and the AAA working your way up and failing, that's good stuff, man.
Hey, how's Billy Mack? Hey, how's Billy Mack? Just because I grew up, obviously Chick Hearns is the GOAT, and then Billy Mack came in with Stu Lance. And how's Billy Mack as a dude? You did some stuff with the Lakers. So how is he as a human?
Yeah, Billy Mack was great. So when I was with the Lakers, Billy Mack was not the play-by-play guy yet, but he was the sideline reporter. We actually have a legendary. He hosted the pre and post game show, Lakers Live. There was a pregame show that we did when he did the Philosophy 101 with Phil Jackson, and we did a TV crew idol that I was a part of. It was Billy Mack was hosting. We had a couple of people on our staff that we did impressions. And I actually did a Harry Carey impression on it and slapped Phil Jackson's fake knee. It aired one time, and then no one could ever find the tape ever again. So it mysteriously went bye-bye because someone did an impression that someone got offended about. And it's like, no, we can't do this anymore. But Billy Mack's the best. We JR, who's the famous stage manager in Anaheim and at Dodger Stadium for the visitors. We FaceTime Billy Mack in LA this year. He's like, hey, look who's doing TV at Dodger Stadium, man. It's your old intern. He used to go get you peanuts and stats and stuff. Look at him. He's doing Brewers baseball on TV now. Look at him. He's all grown up. Billy Mack's the best.
Amazing. That was like my heyday growing up. Obviously diehard Laker fan. You go from Showtime right into Kobe and Shaq and Chick Hearns calling it. That was amazing. And like, I feel like my Phil Jackson impersonation's really good. It's just, you're sitting down and you just lean in and you go, Lamar, and you just point somewhere. Cause like, he just was all over Lamar Odom. It was great. And with that, he always had that, he needed the throat coat too.
Yeah. So. He definitely did. You need to get really close on the microphone and really let it breathe. Lamar, Kwame Brown.
Smush Parker.
That's right. Those were my teams, man.
I know.
So I work for.
Oh, it's good. Well, Chopper, are you ready to get that third win on the board?
Hey, I'm loving this. This is a win already because I didn't know that Jeff and I had so many, like, we were in the same space for years.
I figured. So, yeah,
this is really great.
A lot of the same.
I can't lose. I've already won.
This is a Brewer trivia, but I think you got a shot, Chopper. I think you got a shot, and listener, if you're out there, if you can beat them, if you can get the correct answer before them, then I get the point. Brewers have been based in Milwaukee since 1970. Chopper, where were they? Where was the franchise before that?
Milwaukee.
Seattle.
Correct. Seattle, 1-0. Jeff.
Milwaukee Brewers? That's not a thing. I'm sorry.
Milwaukee
Boston
Brewers were the
Boston
Seattle
Brewers.
Were the Seattle what in 1969?
That is, what is Pilots, Bob?
Yeah,
That's a good answer, Bob.
the
Hey,
Seattle Pilots for 1
Hey,
year.
what were the Dodgers? What were the Dodgers? Like, give me a few of their names when they were back in Brooklyn. You got any of those, Jeff, off the top of your head?
I'm pretty sure they were the Robins at one point.
Yes, they were the Bridegrooms. They were the Superbas. They were all, we had a meeting, like an organizational meeting, and I was the video coordinator, replay guy, but I dove into like being in charge of putting the binders together for this meeting. So I went through all of the accolades and all of the former nomenclatures for the organization, and it got weird. It was great.
Yeah.
Bridegrooms. It was cool.
Bridegrooms. I remember the Bridegrooms, the Superbas. Yeah, that's a good one. The Robins.
dude.
Dodgers,
The
way
Robins.
better.
Trolley Dodgers.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I mean, when I explained to the kids how the Dodgers got their name, the Dodgers, and the pedestrians had to dodge the trolley cars.
Yep.
I mean, that's pretty dark. Like if you think about it, that's
Very
dark.
much so.
I'm guessing like it might have happened. Like, and that's
Yeah.
dark.
I'm thinking the person who originated the name saw it happen. They went, this would be a good name. Better get out of the way of that trolley. Better dodge it.
Better than the Bridegrooms.
Would
Yeah.
love a Uke and Jeff conversation about that one day. That
We
would
can
go
make it
great.
happen. I think this spring training, we can make that happen. I'm going to write it down right now.
In Maryvale.
Yeah.
1-0. Jeff. Jeff, do you have a nickname, by the way? We got Chopper. Do you have a nickname?
For a long time, nobody knew my first name was Jeff. They just called me Levo forever.
I like Levo.
Like my sister, my whole
Levo.
family just called me Levo.
Like
And then
that?
when I moved here, it morphed into Levo for whatever reason. I mean, whatever. I mean, just as long as you don't call me late for dinner, whatever you want to
Yeah.
do.
Bruce Bochy thought that my name or nickname was Chops. So like it was Chopper, first of all, and my name is Chad Chops. So one day Boch walks over and goes, "Hey Chops, what you got?" And I go, "Boch, I mean, not much, man. What's up?" He doesn't usually talk to someone like me.
Sure.
And he goes, "Chops, why do they call you Chops?" I go, I mean, that's my name. That's my last name. And he just walked away. Classic.
story,
Boch's
Chops.
back in the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would walk by and be like, "Chops, what do you got?" And like, "Oh, my son, school." And then he's already gone. He just grabbed his
Yeah.
food and was out. Like, "Wait, you said, what do you got?" Like it was pretty funny. Boch,
It sounds like a
Hall of Famer.
conversation I've had with Craig Counsell for the last 8 years.
All right.
Levo,
good talk.
Levo, what do you got?
Big
And
gulps,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Big gulp, son. Well, see you later.
See you later.
It's not even one. It's just a spin move. Nope.
Yeah.
I'm out.
He's still got that athleticism. Yeah, he's got that
He does.
agility.
He looks like he's 15.
He looks like a bat boy. Yeah, him
Yeah.
and Zach Davies should have a bat boy impersonating contest.
He's
It's
languid.
fun.
Languid.
Yeah.
1-0. 1-0.
that up.
Jeff. I'm calling you Jeff.
Levo.
Number
That's
two,
fine.
They're the Brew Crew. Their only World Series appearance was what year?
1982.
2-0. Jeff.
And you weren't born yet, right? Or were you
Not
born
yet.
in 82? I was born in 80.
Okay.
You were a twinkle in your mother's eye back then.
I was right
Beer.
there. I was in the belly. I was born November 5, 82. So I was about to come out when
Close.
the Cardinals beat them in 7.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know they were an American League team for a minute. Yeah. Okay. For a
Long time.
minute. Actually, yeah, a
And
long minute.
four different divisions, 2 different leagues. 2-0. Jeff. Chopper.
Hey, it's not how you
Uh,
start.
That's right. It's.
Am I
it's how
doing
you
this
do-
right, by the way? Am I just
you're
jumping
killing
in
it.
with answers? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, and you
That's
can answer
it.
more than once too. Like I did with I started with Milwaukee Brewers. If you run back the tape, which was the wrong
Oh,
answer on the first.
Can we get our editor on that? Let's run back that tape.
Let's clean that
Yeah.
up. Let's clean that up and action.
That run back brought to you by Usinger's Sausage. and Don Mattingly's
Miller Lite.
mustache.
Really like
Only 96 calories, brewed for perfection.
Oh,
Who led the major leagues in doubles in the 1980s?
Robin Yount.
Correct.
I was just going to give you one.
Oh,
I mean,
Chopper.
I got some guys in my head that are like very legendary Brewers. That's my only hope. at this point.
Robin
Robin Yount, mullet salute.
Well, mustache mullet combo there.
It was either going to be Robin Yount or Paul Molitor.
Correct. That was my other guy that I have queued up for probably most hits all time. He's probably got something with Paul Molitor. He's got to.
2-1. Number 4. Who was second in doubles? In
Paul Molitor.
Say it. I was going to say Molitor.
Incorrect.
Pat Listash. I just want to say Pat Listash.
Rookie of the year. Nice.
A Brewer, obviously. Doubles.
He's also second all time in hits and hits on an 0-2 count. Tony Gwynn is first, but this guy is all time second in hits on an 0-2. It's 1980s. Most doubles in the 80s. Robin Yount, number 1. This guy 2. Great mustache, as everybody did.
I guess we might have to.
Are
go
you dropping a
initials.
Gorman Thomas? He's not.
I wish. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. This is in the major leagues. This is not.
Oh, he's not a Brewer. Oh,
Sorry.
Goodness gracious! Oh, that changes things.
Oh, Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly.
Boom.
Close. I mean, great stash, but not the answer.
That's where
League
I
or
was
National
going. Was
League?
great stash.
American League.
Wade Boggs.
Correct.
Waiter. Yeah, for sure.
Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly gave Jim Abbott the mustache sandwich of all mustache sandwiches after his no-hitter. That's how I
That's
always
a lot of
end
stash.
the Jim
It's a
Abbott
good amount of stash.
story. Is
The right amount of stash.
Wade Boggs and Don Mattingly give Jim Abbott a mustache sandwich for the ages, kids.
Did you ever see that
So
quote
good.
with I think it was Bobby Cox, where he was in the dugout and Boggs was struggling a little bit, and he leans in and he's like, "Damn, Boggsy, you can't hit the fastball or the changeup." And like growing up for us, like that was like our quote as kids. Like we just thought it was hilarious.
Oh, it's good.
Not
Well, he
supposed to
can't
say,
hit the fastball or the changeup, huh? That sucks.
"Damn, Boggsy."
2-2 tie
Yeah.
game.
Hey, it happens.
Okay, back to
Paul
the
Molitor.
crew. No, well, my next question was Yount's Hall of Fame plaque. He's wearing a Brewers hat. Who's the only other player? It's Paul Molitor.
Let's go.
Paul Molitor.
That have that. But that's not a question. The question is,
I know.
who's the Brewers franchise leader in games pitched?
Jim Slayton.
It's not what Baseball Reference has, although I thought it was. This is 86-92. This guy
Dan
has
Plesac.
Boom.
Correct.
Oh boy.
Well done. That's strong.
Yeah, I mean, he knows his stuff. You got to know your franchise. I love that. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Did you?
Lebo,
I mean, when you
Lebo
got,
knows his jazz.
and I
Right.
think he's questioning that right now. He's gonna look that up. But I think Plesac got him. I think every offensive category it's Yount, and then a lot of pitching categories
Yeah.
is Slanton.
Please.
Yeah.
It's Slayton.
Slayton.
Jim Slayton.
Jim Slayton.
Yeah,
Jimmy Slates.
70s, early 80s.
Sorry about it. Circa.
3-2
Yeah.
Jeff. We're getting down to it here.
I need this one.
Just name one minor league affiliate of the Brewers.
Nashville Sounds.
4-2 Jeff.
Can I think
Biloxi
of one?
Shuckers.
Hey, do they have anything on like because I played like most of my stuff was East Coast or like
Yeah, they're in Carolina.
Yeah, Mudcats.
Carolina Mudcats?
Yeah.
They're in
In
Wisconsin.
Zebulon.
Okay.
Timber
Did
Rattlers.
I, did I nail that pronunciation, Mr. North Carolina?
You did. Zebulon.
Not a boy.
Biloxi
4-2?
Shuckers. Nashville Sounds 4-2 Jeff.
Where's
what
their
pitcher?
who's their high A? Who's their high A affiliate? You already
Wisconsin
said it?
Timber Rattlers.
Hey, them Timber Rattlers. Watch out. Is that
It's
a
a scary
venomous
animal.
is that a venomous snake?
I'm anti-snake.
Same.
I'm Indiana Jones, anti-snake.
Yeah, I'm off snakes. Don't need it.
There's another one. I want to hear you talk about Timber Rattlers.
Need it.
I'll take that one.
There's a young stud with a timber rattler. Reminds me of myself. You once said.
Oh,
Man.
hitting a cool 200.
If I'm ever down and out, I just pull up his Hall of Fame speech. It's
So
the best
good.
ever.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just all he doesn't have a piece of paper.
Doesn't need it.
And he goes, it is wow. There you go, listener. There's 20
He tells a
minutes
story
for you.
that Jeff Idelson, who used to run the Hall of Fame, he goes, "How much time do I have, Jeff?" And he goes, "How much time do you want, Uke?"
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll just go
So
until I
good.
don't need to go anymore.
So I'm speaking, Jeff. I'm speaking at Vanguard next week, and the head coach that currently there was the assistant coach when I was there, and I'm the
Okay.
keynote speaker for this alumni dinner. And he just texted me like, "Hey, how much time do you want or need?" And I was like, "Hey, dude, I'm not writing anything down. I'm just gonna go out there and talk about legacy and love of the game and love of humans and trying to make an impact. Like I can do it right now if he wants me to. You know,
Sure.
just
I
go
might roast
speak.
you a little bit in the process, but that's okay.
Hey, great guy, Coach Rob Pegg. He is a great human.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job, really kind of putting Vanguard back on the map. They've been super good kind of every year he's been there. It's really cool to see.
That's cool.
Pujols' son
Good to
went there to
see.
play golf. Albert Pujols' son's there to play golf.
Still there.
Yeah.
Senior year
Random.
playing.
That's random.
Albert actually works out there. I don't know if he still does, but he was his off-season workouts. Back to the game, Chopper.
Way to put us
4-2,
back on
Jeff.
the rails. Thanks.
Brought to
Yeah.
you by Potawatomi. I've been there, dude. It's fun. Potawatomi's
It
cool.
is. Yes, it is.
I know.
I ran a little sandlot in the Milwaukee area, and I'll be back. We'll have to get your 8-year-old there for that. Give him a nickname, and that was really fun. That was my introduction to walking tacos. Walking tacos. You got this
That's right.
bag of chips, and it's got tacos in it. And my daughters worked the snack shack, and they were passing out all those. Man, that's a highlight of my sandlot tour. Back to the action.
Back to you. Milwaukee, pronounced Milwaukee. Back to you.
What pitcher struck out Robin Yount the most?
Jeez, that's a good trivia.
Another great mustache. I mean, this is a theme.
Goose Gossage?
Good guess.
I like the mustache.
23 times he clipped him.
Dang.
My heart wants to say Roger Clemens, but that I don't
Same.
believe is correct.
Yeah, he's too. Yeah, that's the wrong era. Right?
Clemens is like second in all of these.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the most at bats with Yount, most strikeouts.
You said frothy mustache, huh?
Said good
It's
stash.
frothy.
Man.
It's like Sam Elliott.
Dang.
It's
Ooh,
Tombstone.
Wow.
World Series champ in
In a different uniform. How about Raleigh?
Raleigh fingers.
Yes.
Ooh. Eckersley?
I'm gonna get this
Eckersley.
one. I think. No.
Eckersley. Okay. Give us
Okay.
give us some nudge us.
The initials are JM.
John, Joe, Jim,
Jack
Jack Morris.
Morris, Blackjack.
Jack Morris. That's a tie. 5-3 on the scoreboard. Jack Morris got Yount 23 times.
Blackjack.
That
I like that.
splitter. That splitter.
So
That'll
nasty.
happen. It's pretty good.
I'll ask
what-
Robin next time I see him.
Wasn't Blackjack Jack McDowell though? Right?
Yeah,
Was
it
Jack
was.
Morris on? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jack Morris's twins.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Twins, Blue
And
Jays,
Tigers.
Tigers.
World Series with the Tigers.
Nasty.
5-3. We're almost there. Let's go present day. Christian Yelich. He's got the most career hits off what pitcher? He's got 15
man,
hits
he's
off
got
this
some-
guy.
NL Central. Maybe not though, because it could have been NL East too. This Marlin days. Probably NL Central though.
You could still win this
He
thing,
has some
Chopper.
serious ownage over Clayton Kershaw, but he hasn't faced him enough. It's
That's
got to be a
because it
red.
stands out. Yeah, that's because it stands out because it's left on left versus Kersh, and most
Yeah.
lefties can't hit him.
It's got to be a, you know what? It's not Wainwright. I don't feel confident in that.
Cardinals, yeah.
Yeah, I think you got to think the Marlins days.
Yeah.
Righty.
NL East.
He's not in the East anymore.
Scherzer? No,
I'm
he's
gonna
back
say-
in the
yeah.
East. He's back in the East. Were you going to say Scherzer too, Levo?
I was contemplating.
Yeah.
He just moved from the East to a totally different league.
Verlander.
Nope.
I know. Devastating. Bad guess. I take it back.
I mean, you could
That
say he's
guess
the best.
brought to you by nobody because nobody's sponsoring that guess.
You could say he's the best pitcher of the past decade.
What?
And it's not Scherzer
It's not Scherzer, and it's
or
okay.
Verlander.
DeGrom?
Correct. 5-4.
DeGrom.
Okay. All right. He's got
He's
the
got
most hits off
15
DeGrom.
knocks off DeGrom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he hadn't faced him all that much here
He's
recently.
15 for 13. He's had a good run. Do the math.
We got a ball game here with 2 questions left.
A coach ball game.
Who has struck out Christian Yelich the most? 16 Ks this pitcher has struck
Scherzer.
out. Incorrect. I think Scherzer's second.
You're really digging deep on these. I appreciate it. This is Brown education coming out right
That's
here.
all it is.
Well, I skipped a lot of classes, but not baseballreference.com.
You're hanging out on Hope Street too much.
Oh, you know your way around Providence.
That's where I lived when I was in Pawtucket. I lived on Hope Street.
Oh, buddy. Man,
Yeah.
did you ever Max's? You got little Max's or
Oh, yeah.
get some hot dogs across the street there? Yeah.
Mhm.
Good stuff on Thayer.
Oh, Thayer's the best. I'm just buying time so I can think.
Same. I'm thinking too.
Brought to you
Who's
by
punched out Yelly the most?
Max's.
Patrick Corbin. That's a bad guess too.
It's the right team.
Strasburg.
Sure. Strasburg. Dang it. Yep.
That
he
was
got it.
close. Strasburg.
Yeah, he got it. Darn it.
So our winner is
Good
Jeff,
job, Levo. Proud of you, bud.
6'4". But the final one here, just for funsies, Bob
Paul
Uecker.
Molitor.
Bob Uecker, what pitcher did he face the most? The most at bats with 38.
Gosh, I've looked at this so many times too.
He's
And it
7 for
embarrasses me that I
38
don't
against him. Had a 184 batting average, 8 Ks, and 1 dinger. One famous dinger.
It's probably a really good pitcher.
I mean, he took 3 or 4 Hall of Famers deep.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Sandy
Yeah.
Koufax.
Correct.
Let's
Sandy.
go. Attaboy.
Most at bats, Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
And he took
Backup
him
catcher, right? Uke.
Yeah.
He's getting that day
whenever
off.
McCarver wanted a day
Yeah.
off, he'd be like, okay, you
Get
do
in there,
Koufax.
kids.
Yeah. He always tells this great story. Gaylord Perry hit home run off of Gaylord Perry one day, and Perry, every time he saw him, would go, "That is the worst day of my life." Not anything else. When you hit a home run off of me, that was the worst day of my life.
So funny. Hey, and Sean Dunson tells stories of like guys would like look ahead at the schedule and like, hey, we got Doc Gooden in a couple days. So they would start coming down with a hamstring symptom a couple day or two
Yeah.
before. So they could go into the office and say, Skip, I need a day. Like my hamstring, like, I've been dealing with it for a few days, but I need a day. It's like, okay.
Your little man sneaking in there. He's like,
God
this is
bless
running
him.
long. Yeah, your little man's back. I'm pulling a David Letterman. That one's gone. Bye-bye. Jeff, thank you so much for hanging with us, man. This could have went on for an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, this feels like a
Super
nice.
fun.
This could be a reunion over a couple of glasses of lemonade at some point.
Glass of
Easily.
milk.
Throat
Yeah.
coat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got to get some
Thank
throat
you.
coat. Hey, if it's cool with you, I would love to get your number from Coach Ballgame off air. Cause I just feel like we could connect in a cool way. Cause we basically spent that time in our formidable years in
That's
Orange
right.
County.
For sure.
And-
I'm sure we ran into Paul's cocktails one too many times.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Good.
you know how mean those streets are. Like I tell the story about how we lost a lot of good men growing up, to private school and,
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. Yeah, no, feel free to share. And anytime the
Done
Brewers
deal.
are in LA, or if you guys are out in the Midwest or even in Arizona, come on out.
perfect.
You guys, open invitation. Now, I know
Appreciate it,
Boog gave you the red carpet treatment, so because he's a redhead, but anytime you guys want to come to Milwaukee, open invite.
Thanks,
Open
Jeff.
invite.
We appreciate you, man. I hope
Awesome.
you have a great, it was great to meet you. Keep doing great
Likewise.
things. Appreciate
We'll
you.
do our best. Thanks, guys. This is
All right,
awesome.
thank you.
It's a real treat. Thank you.
Thanks. Jeff.
Attaboy. That's cool, man.
So
That's
awesome.
cool. Yeah. So, Chopper, what do you take from that? What are you hanging your
it's
hat
cool.
on?
It's cool that he had this passion, right? So he learned at a young age, like, hey, I want to do this, right? In that college moment where, and then he just never got off of that. So that's what we want as coaches. Like, if you see a kid who's kind of disinterested, learn your players. Like, hey, man, what wakes you up in the morning? What do you love? And then sometimes that might be like, okay, man, well, hey, how can I help assist this family and this young man into following his dream or his passion? Because a lot of times, as a coach, baseball is the parents' passion. It's not necessarily the kid's passion. They're trying to live through the players. So like the fact that he did that game and he was leaving the softball game and he had this mindset of like, hey man, I want to do this. And he had this rush and this joy. And then he just did whatever it takes. I'm going to go be an intern. And they just never turned off his key. Worked at Fox. So he just chased his dream and now he's doing it, man. That's so
They don't let you in the front door. They'll try the back, try the side door, go through the window. I'm pulling a U this week. I've got to hop on another Zoom with a high school class in Pennsylvania right
Great.
now, and I'm gonna just
Do it.
talk about things. So,
Awesome.
folks, thanks for tuning in. Our guest next week is who? Coach
Shoot. I don't know.
Steven Sousa
Junior. Let's
Jr.
go. Hey, now I know why I couldn't figure out why you had that super classy, fancy flannel on, but now I know you're about to speak in front of a high school. Now it makes sense.
Right?
Hey, have fun. Do it.
Keep raking. Bye.
You too, buddy. See ya.